What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I just hit top bottom video. It was gonna hop right into it. So this won't be like the other Diddy content I had did in the past weeks. Now, if you are not new to the channel, then you know I have been doing breakdowns of pretty much the court transcripts. That's not what this is going to be today, but we're going to get into how, I mean, everybody's probably seen it at this point, but Diddy was acquitted of the sex trafficking and the RICO charges involving, well, the RICO was the thing as a whole. The sex trafficking was involving Cassie and Jane Doe, who we know is Daphne Joy, and another woman he had a relationship with, also 50 Cent's baby mama. That's also her claim to fame. But he was not found guilty. Like I said, he was acquitted of the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, but he was found guilty on the transportation of prostitution charges. So there we go. So as of we know right now, obviously, Diddy's been in jail since I forgot when exactly he went in, but obviously they do get time served, but he has been denied bond until his sentencing. Boy, I can't say that word until next week. So next week we'll find out what his true, the true effect of his conviction. So with this, he still faces a potential of a sentence as much as 20 years in prison. But obviously, he has avoided the more severe charges with the RICO and the sex trafficking. So, in my personal opinion, I don't believe he'll get the full 20 for a transportation of prostitution. I mean, even though you got all the things that go along with it, but I just don't believe he'll get a full 20 for that. I didn't even know that type of charge would get you that much time. But he made I'm shocked he didn't get bond. I think he was shocked as well. So I thought he was going to get bond and maybe walk out of jail today. Because I just don't think the charges that he got, convicted for are not that serious, like transportation of prostitution. But, well, we're going to see next week what it is. But what I want to talk about today is basically how his defense won this case for him. So, because obviously we know at the moment in time before, unless he gets some type of wild sentence for transportation or prostitution, this is a W for Diddy. Let's just be honest. He avoided a RICO and a sex trafficking charge, which definitely put his ass in jail. So, it's a W so far, unless the sentence is just wow. But how, at least in my opinion, and I'm not somebody with law experience kind of, but I will say, to begin with, obviously, starting with I'll start here. So the transportation of prostitution for both women, that was pretty easy to convict him on, I would say so, because everybody had a very similar story. And that's exactly why I didn't cover some of it towards the end, because it's like everybody did have a similar story, especially with the women that he was directly involved with, like Cassie and Jane Doe, aka Daphne Joy. Basically saying that they were, participating in these freak offs with prostitutes. Daphne also included. I mean, they were, prostitutes in the moment, but they were actually porn stars. So they were participating in these, and obviously he's paying them and transporting them to the city that they're going to be in. And yeah, that one was very obvious, open and shut, because how many people came forward and said they about something about the freak off. So that was very obvious. But how I think he got acquitted of the other charges, because the thing with the RICO has to be some type of criminal enterprise. So when you're doing a criminal enterprise like that, it's usually in the benefit of them, basically being a crime ring and then making money from it. Okay, it says exploit. So the technical thing is the exploitation of individuals for commercial sex act, and that word commercial, I think, is very, very important, and I'll get into that now. So, like I said, criminal enterprise and make money, and commercial sex act. So just remember those 2 points when I'm explaining. So how I think the defense won, to begin with, one point that I thought they made very, very early in the case, that they wanted to get out there, that this is not a domestic violence case. Because if this was a domestic violence case, obviously Diddy would be convicted. But they make sure to understand this is not a domestic violence case, and that is not why he's here. He's obviously, as we know now, sex trafficking, RICO, and transportation of prostitution. But so that's a great point that they started with. Another thing that I do believe hurt them is, if you, like I said earlier, they all had a similar story. Yes, they did talk about him getting violent and him, the freak, obviously the freak offs in general, and them only doing a lot of them doing the freak offs was trying just to keep him happy. But everything that they told, it was very personal. There is no commercial sex act to it. This is a man I'm in, I guess you call it a relationship, but a man I'm in a relationship with, and I'm trying to keep him happy by doing these things that he like. Even if I'm not all the way uncomfortable with it, I'm still gonna do it, trying to keep him happy. That's very personal. There's no commercial to that. So that's one thing I think hurt. Also, with their stories being the same, it's like going back to the personal thing, it's like, yeah, it was personal. They never established a line of, he's where he's benefited besides just, him getting his, sexual things or his freaky. It's like they just basically painted a picture of this nigga being freaky and never really painted a picture of the crime boss and enterprise. Obviously, they threw some violent things, the Kid Cudi thing and things of that sort, but there is no like consistent way like, oh, he's getting money from this, like that you can build a RICO for this. They'll obviously, and usually reading the transcripts, the only thing that money really got involved is him actually paying the prostitutes. He got convicted for transportation of prostitution, and him saying he needed things in this sort, so he probably was paying for it in the end. But it's never him making any kind of money from this for it to be some type of criminal enterprise and criminal ring. I'll bring all those people on the stand, just basically explain that he had a personal relationship, and that there was certain reasons why these women continued these things even though they didn't like it, but none of them was past personal and them wanting to be with Diddy. So that's why I think his defense did a great job, and that's how he beat those cases. So like, yeah, so that's really, I ain't want to make too long of a video for this because I've done so much detail on it, but that's really all of it. So like I said, next week we will see sentencing and the real effect of it. Obviously, he's not getting a RICO or anything of that sort, so he will not be facing a life sentence. But they do say he can face a maximum of up to 20 years. I do not believe he'll get a full 20 for the simple fact, transportation of prostitution, yes, is, obviously it's a crime. And obviously, a paying attention that he's a freaky ass nigga and things of that sort. And he did it a lot of times. But I just don't think it's a serious enough offense to get him 20 years, in my personal opinion. And I'm not saying that as, I'm trying to say who's right or wrong in this situation. I'm just looking at it from like black and white. That charge is not too crazy to get you 20 years, even if it wasn't if the context wasn't even added with, Diddy and, him being such a public figure and the violence and the other charges involved, we wouldn't even be talking about 20 years. So that's crazy hell to think about. But yeah, that's all I gotta say for today though. Like, share, subscribe, comment. ID TikTok on the video, and we out.